Hello, everyone. I'm usually not that yellow, but this is me, Maxime Sanglan-Charlier. It sounds a bit like a French name, but well, actually, I'm Belgian, living in France. That's why French-speaking Belgian, by the way. Yeah, I'm a consultant, facilitator, and trainer working for Ardling, the company that is organizing DDD Europe conference. I'm also organizing a conference, by the way, which is called New Crafts in Paris. All the videos for this year are online, including talks by Nick, but other persons as well that are here as well.
Is Kevlin going to be there next year?
Yeah, sure. I will, yeah. We need to check that. But I'm also sometimes helping the team of virtualddd.com, which is a platform where you can find many online resources like talks, panel discussions, workshops. There's a lot of videos right now, and you can register on the website and make sure you don't miss any other sessions. So yeah, you can find me on not that much on Twitter, now more on Mastodon. And yeah, give the mic to you, Nick.
So I'm Nick. I'm also a consultant. Sometimes I work with Max, but not all the time. Complicated relationship, you know. That's why we have a lot of space between us. Also because I don't wear deodorant. So when I'm not being a consultant, I like talking interesting places. Here I was talking in a circus in Budapest. And today it's kind of like a 90s warehouse rave, so add one to the collection. And when I'm not consulting and when I'm not talking in weird places, you can find me on Mastodon. My details are down here. If you don't follow me, you've been missing out on treats like me eating a 4-cheese tortellini in a 5-cheese sauce. I didn't manage to complete it, so I'll be attempting again at some point in the future. So if you want to follow that, you'll have to follow me on Mastodon. So today's talk is going to be about software, about architecture, about teams, and about domains. Already seen an interesting talk today about monoliths and microservices. Unfortunately, we don't have any sharks and desert islands in this talk. I just want to put that out there straight away. Put your expectations in the right place. We're not going to reach those heights. Not going to be any eye tests in this talk either, unfortunately. But we do have a bit of role play. But the key point of the talk is, as has been mentioned in, I think, all of the talks I've been to today, what companies really want is to be able to go faster, be able to keep up with what their market's expecting of them. To do that, you need a loosely coupled software architecture that enables changes to be made easily and independently. And to achieve that, you need well-defined domain boundaries, parts of your business that are independent and change together, so your software can be aligned to your business areas that are somewhat independent. We'll be looking at 3 different things, won't we, Max?
So we will first see how event storming can help us to map out an entire domain. And we will also see how the result of an event storming workshop can help us to start identifying the domain boundaries. Then we will go into some refinement cycles, and we will use different techniques to do that. The first one will be domain message flow modeling, which will help us to see where the coupling is between those boundaries and also gain more confidence in those boundaries. And then at the end, we will see how using the bounded context canvas can help us to validate everything else like roles and responsibilities.
So here is a real scenario that's actually not real, but contains elements of reality from our work as consultants. And we thought we would, since there's 2 of us, we would just add some role play to the talk to try and bring a sense of realism about why these changes might be happening in a company. So Maxime, you're the CEO of this company.
You are the CEO.
I'm the CEO today.
I'm the CTO.
Wasn't I this? No, you're the CEO, right? Which one do you want to be?
I will be the CTO, you will be the CEO and the principal engineer.
Okay. Maxime, CTO.
Yes, that's me.
Been talking to the board, and there's been some changes in the company's attitude. There's a lot of stuff happening in the environment outside the company. And we're having to reassess how we think about things and how we keep competitive in an ever-changing landscape. Great. And we see the industry is opening up, hotting up, lots of possibilities. and we need to double our revenue in 5 years, and we're relying on technology to make that happen. As a CTO, can you do it?
Sure, boss. But I think you might forget about something really important, that we have quite a huge legacy system. So first of all, I'm not really that confident, but I need to speak with my principal engineer first to see what he thinks about all this stuff. Yeah. So I'm changing, and I'm talking to my principal engineers now. Yeah, so the board, people, the CEO, they told me that they want to increase the revenues, double the revenues, increase the velocity, whatever. So I told them that we have this legacy, but yeah, they told me, yeah, please go on. And then, well, it's up to you now. I'm asking you, what do you think about all this?
I'm still thinking about the next time we might be able to actually deploy the current monolith. I'm not sure how we can double revenue when we can't even deploy more than once every few months. It's a difficult ask. I don't know. I don't really see much possibility of that happening, to be honest, unless there's going to be some big investments.
Yeah, but they really insisted. They're really serious about it. So if we don't want to be fired soon, I think we will have to increase this velocity. So what is the best way to do that?
Well, look, I think the key thing is we can talk about the technology sides of this, but we also have to look at the people side of things. The developers have been used to working in this legacy monolith for a long time. Their mindset has been, let's make some small changes, let's fix some bugs. Let's just survive in this monolith to now think about creating this super decoupled system that they can be deployed 10 times a day. I just don't see how we're going to get there from where we are now.
Okay. I've read a book, which is called Team Topologies, which is quite interesting. They're saying that we need to if we want to have this decoupled system, and we also need to give autonomy to teams, and we to have stream-aligned teams. That's how they call it. So how could we get to those autonomous teams? What do you think?
So I've been doing some research of my own.
Okay.
During this conversation, actually.
Great start.
I found something online called the DDD crew, the Domain-Driven Design crew, and there's some insights in there about how we might start breaking up a monolith. I wouldn't call it an in-depth step-by-step guide or a framework, but there seems to be some pretty useful stuff in there, and this event storming thing looks like a good starting place.
So let's do that, I think. Yeah, that's the only thing we can try. So let's do it.
Okay, cool. So I'm going to talk about finding domain boundaries with event storming. Whilst I'm doing that, he's going to add some sharks and desert islands to the talk. It has to be, while the ship's in production, we can't have any downtime here. You've got to get them in there without taking the display off. Zero downtime deployment here. So finding domain boundaries. So yeah, you're in this situation. You've got an old system. You want to make it something more loosely coupled. What you don't want to do is just start spinning up microservices ad hoc. Oh, we need to build a new feature. Let's make it a new microservice. That is how you end up in a very painful situation. So techniques like event storming are very useful. Start with your business domain. Start getting all of the knowledge in your company about your business domain, and then you can start thinking, how do we start turning this into software, not the other way around. So if you haven't seen event storming, it's a very simple idea. You get some orange Post-it notes. Has to be orange Post-it notes, otherwise you'll offend some people and you won't get invited to these secret hangouts. And you put them on a timeline from left to right, really simple idea, and they are what we call domain events or business events or some other variation of that. So example here from our scooter rental domain, located the nearest scooter on an app, found the scooter, scanned the QR code, and account setup requested. So we've got a few different things going on here. We've got some user journey steps. We've got some steps maybe inside the system. We're just bringing all that together at this point and not being overly specific about what we include or exclude. You can also see on the bottom row here, we've got an alternative flow. Typically, we have the happy path across the top and then the alternative edge cases branching off below. And this allows us to zoom in and zoom out, explore as we need to, We're not constrained by any overly strict notation. But what's good about event storming is you kind of want to do it in this kind of setting, where you've got a lot of different people and a lot of different perspectives. And in this particular example here, this was a Canadian company. This was at the end of the day. At the start of the day, you're not allowed to have chairs. And basically, what you can see on the wall in the background is about 15 meters of event storm, and probably a bit of sweat over there as well. It got a bit warm at the end of the day. But what you can see on that wall is not just orange events. You can see the perspective of developers, salespeople, marketing, support, testers. Company CTO was floating around. Company COO was floating around. The CEO dropped in and out. And all of those insights are on that wall. And that's where I want to be before I start thinking about how do we design a software system for this organization. And then once you have that mapped out, you can start doing things like this. Start identifying what are the different areas, what we might call a domain or a subdomain or some other terminology. How do we chunk this thing up into different areas that could become these stream-aligned teams and these loosely coupled modules in our software. Once you've done that, when you've got the whole room together, you can start exploring these possibilities with a business perspective, a technical perspective, all perspectives, and start iterating and assessing those domain boundaries. So in this example here, we have a pick-up and drop-off subdomain from an online car dealership. So we just go through them, we define the purpose of it, and we can ask simple questions like, do all of these events seem connected to the name and the purpose? Picked up a new car from warehouse. Well, that has pickup in the event, so it seems pretty related. Arrived at the customer's house. That's about getting there and dropping the car off. We offloaded the new car at the customer's house. Still seems consistent with this purpose we've defined here. Then we give the new owner a guide of the car. Is this feeling connected to those other events, or is it feeling a bit different here? Let's just put a question mark for now. And you go through the process like that. At this point, we're not looking for precision or facts or irrefutable hard evidence. We're just looking for what feels right. Let's just have some conversations and explore ideas and not get too much into the details. And once you've got an event storm, you can apply different heuristics to identify different potential domain boundaries. So it's useful to know about different heuristics. A very simple one is just to take some kind of process and break it up into steps or some kind of journey. In this example, we've got a user journey of placing an order, the most boring and overused example, but I don't care. And we've got subdomains like search and browse, product details, cart and checkout, and reviews. A very easy way to start identifying potential domain boundaries and exploring alternatives. This stuff doesn't have to be like rocket science. You don't need to hire DDD consultants to do this stuff. It's pretty simple. What we can then start to do is say, well, what about other potential ways of slicing up our business? Do we have any commonality that appears in multiple journeys or processes that we might want to separate into its own individual subdomain? In this example, there's notifications. Do we want to have some duplication or some difference, or would we prefer to have a standardized, centralized version of that? Just exploring at this point, no need to get worked up. And then we have the concept of looking at language as a way to identify boundaries. So in this example, we've got the same physical person, it could be me or Max or Kevin or anyone, and in different parts of our business, we use a different word to describe that thing. We have more specialized terminology. So in marketing, we call them a lead. In journeys, we call them a rider, and so on. And so just by having all your domain experts there at the same time doing this event storming, you can actually get all those perspectives. You're not saying, oh, what does marketing call someone? They call them a customer. You're just like, hey, you work in marketing. What do you call this person? Stuff like that. Very simple when everyone's together. So.
All right. So I got excellent feedback from those sessions, those event storming sessions you've made. So what was the result?
We have some ideas. We've got some ideas of what our domain boundaries could be.
Could?
Yeah, it's just a starting point, dude.
So yeah, okay, great. But what else we can do? Because I gave you some time. You did some event storming sessions. Now you have some domain boundaries, and you are saying to me that they are not really the real boundaries you want. So
we made a good start. We've got some things that are quite fuzzy, and according to the domain driven design crew, what we need to try and do now is take that as the starting point and start to iterate on it and refine it, apply some more in-depth analysis, applying real use cases, and that should get us to very close to where we want to be.
all right, okay, I give you some more time to do that. Let's do it. Right, so let's see how we can do it. Yeah, so as Nick said, we had our first boundaries after the event storming sessions, but we don't know yet if it's the right ones. We have a first draft, that's the first try. At this stage, we have no more than just bets on the future. So you don't want to build your entire new system based on those bets. So yeah, you need to figure out if you need to refine this a bit. So how do I know if those boundaries are right? That's what we are going to do. And we will enter into some refinement cycles. And those cycles are not new, actually. If you look at this, it's the model exploration whirlpool from Eric Evans. He made it when people were asking him, like, well, Eric, you're saying us to build the right model to solve the problem, but how can we be sure that those models are the right ones? So he built this model whirlpool of exploration, and you see already those refinement cycles here. And this is what we are going to do. Even if this applies to model, it applies also to software boundaries or domain boundaries. First of all, the first thing to do is to speak with your domain experts. That's what Nick have been doing during the event storming workshops, and ask the domain experts to tell stories, and it will be really very helpful for you to dig into the domain. And while your domain experts are telling you stories, you can collect reference scenarios of your domain, and that's the one important part here. Because then you can walk through those scenarios and test those scenarios. And on this model whirlpool of exploration, you can try models for those particular scenarios. You can refine, experiment, do some code probe, and so on. Then, so you will refine your boundaries, and then you will see how coupled they are, because we want a loosely coupled architecture. So we need to focus a bit more on the coupling. And Vladimir Kononov has an interesting formula to calculate actually the pain of coupling, which is an interesting thing. So it's quite simple. You have to multiply the strengths, the volatility, and the distance. So the strength is how coupled are two components. So let's take an example. If I have component A that is emitting an event, and I have component B that is subscribed to that event, well, it has a coupling, but it's log coupling because, well, the event might not change that often, and so you don't have any impact to do on component B. But if you have those two components that are sharing the same database, that's a different story, of course, because whenever someone is changing in component A, the database, you have impacts on component B, so the strength is very high. The volatility is how likely those two components will have to change together. So that's also quite important to see the frequency of change here. And the distance is how far those two coupled systems are together. So if you're having those two components sharing the same database, if it's within the same team, well, that's manageable. I mean, it's okay, and the distance is very, very low. But if you have those two components sharing database, one team is in Berlin and one team is in Sydney, well, this is where the problems occurs. Yeah, it will be very, very difficult in that case to make any change in those two components. So that's very interesting to keep that formula in mind. So how can we visualize this coupling and the relationship between those boundaries? We can use a simple technique, which is called the domain message flow modeling. And it's an easy recipe. First of all, you have to collect the reference scenarios. And that's what Eric Evans already said with the whirlpool model of exploration. So you have this set of scenarios from your domain. You pick an important one. Well, you will not do that for every scenarios, but pick the important ones. And then you start with an actor system or domain. You create a message that needs to be sent. You add the recipient, and you connect it, and you repeat until the scenario is done. And when the scenario is done, you can go with another one and try it. So yeah, it's just a recipe. Let's look at an example. It will be easier to understand. So here, my scenario, it's placing an online order when all items are in stock. And here it's very, very important because you are very specific. So you know that all items are in stock already, so you don't have to check the stock in another domain or another bound context or another component, whatever. So you know that. So it's very, very, it's simpler when you have explicit scenarios. So make sure that it's not like placing an order, because you will have so much thing going on when you place an order, so be specific here. So you have the actor, which is the shopper with the phone. He places an order on the sales boundary, and then the sales say order place, which is interesting for billing. Then the billing can charge a credit card on an external system. And then as soon as the payment is collected, sales can update its status, the order status, but also we can send notification through MailMonkey back to the shopper. So that's a simple example, but to show you how it can be done. So you have the three kind of messages here. There's an instruction. I want to place an order. This might fail. You have events if you want to say something to the outside world that you've done something interesting. And then you have also a query if you need some information from any other boundaries. You can also put some data here, the kind of data that will be in the message, the payload of the message, but you can do that as a second step. And yeah, even the first step, you don't have maybe to choose one of the message type. You can put white stickies instead to see how things are interacting with each other to fulfill this particular scenario. So it's quite an easy technique, and one of the thing with those kind of technique, it's visual, and you can easily visualize things that might go wrong. So here we have example without any names, but it just by looking at it, you can maybe question or let's say you create this diagram, and then you want to have some remarks or observation made by another team. They can look at it, and just even without the context, they can already see some patterns or design smells. Like this one here, I have a customer who is placing a command on a specific boundaries, and then this boundary needs to make 4 different queries before it can maybe answer yes or no to that command. So you might think, well, it seems like this boundary doesn't have enough information to fulfill this instruction. So the thing you might want to change to make sure that it doesn't have to make all those queries to do the command. Or it might be a situation where it's okay to be in that situation, because maybe you are trying to extract some functionalities from your old legacy systems to a new one, but the data are still here. The source of truth is still in that boundary, so you need to make those queries, but it will be temporary. As soon as you will have the data here, you don't have to make those queries again. And same for here, you can say, well, this boundary in the middle, is it useless or not? Because as soon as I have a command here, I need to go there, and then it calls another one, and same for here. So, well, it seems that this one is useless, but well, okay, maybe it's a gateway that we need to set up, and it's responsible to talk with all the other external boundaries maybe. So yeah, that might be a situation where it's okay. But yeah, visualizing stuff, it's very, very powerful. So please also never discuss something which is not visualized. That's also really a good advice. So it's easy also to make different options. Sometimes you will create that first diagram, and then someone will say, well, we don't need that. It's too much complicated, so let's do another option. Instead of, yeah, I would like to remove that, or maybe change the order of things and stuff like that. If you don't visualize things, it will be harder to think about it, reason about it. So please, every time someone is speaking about something, please stop them, ask them to create a new option, and then you can compare things and dot vote on what you like, what you don't like, or things like that. So, and make some progress. It's as we said, it's also a way to refine our boundaries. And that's an example I had with a company that were rebuilding their old accounting platform, and they were moving to a SaaS platform instead. And yeah, here we were in the depreciation module, and the scenario was the fixed asset sales, so it's very specific. I learned a lot of things about accounting during this gig. And the first diagram they came up with is that we had 4 different boundaries to make the sales happen. And someone said, well, it doesn't really make sense because the sale always go with the revaluation, so we should do that at the same place. So we first, as a second step, we bring back together those 2 boundaries in a single one. And then someone else said, well, but actually all the computation should be handled by one team because they know it. So another constraint was added to this diagram, and we realized that this would be handled by a single team because it requires specific skills, algorithm, and stuff like that. So yeah, they decided to isolate those in a single boundary and keep the fixed asset with the sale behavior inside. So you see that it's also a way to simplify the boundaries. It's not always the case that you will have big ones that you want to cut in several smaller parts. Sometimes it will be the other way around, where you will bring back some stuff together. So yeah, that's a very, very good tool that will help us to validate your boundaries and see how your different boundaries will interact to fulfill a specific scenario of your domain. You will identify the dependencies and the interaction, and as well we saw just before, it will help you to have better defined boundaries and to lower coupling, and you will see how the entire system is communicating. And it's as event storming, it's quite easy to create your first diagram. You don't have to read any books before. It's very simple. It's boxes and arrows, and that's it. So let's go back to this role play. So Nick, you've done, so I saw the results. You made some good diagrams, so I think you're finished right now, yes?
It's just boxes and arrows, isn't it? How hard can it be? So I think we're much closer. You know, people feel that we're making progress. People can see how this fuzzy idea on the wall starts becoming something that we might implement in software. I feel like we're almost there and almost ready to implement the first step.
Ooh, so that's a good news. That's something I can definitely tell to the CEO. So yeah, please deliver that first step. That would be a great message for the CEO.
I think we just need to get the people back together one more time to put together everything we've done so far, have a quick overview of the whole thing, and I think we'll be ready to make that decision and start iterating towards 2x in 5 years.
So let's do it. Okay,
so I think those 2 techniques we talked about already, those will be like getting you most of the way. But it's useful once you've gone through all those different scenarios to reflect on the model itself and look at an individual service and put all of that together in one picture. One of the techniques you can use for that is what we call the bounded context canvas. It just brings together some different types of information that you can see all in one place and decide, does it look good? Should we do it? Or back to the drawing board. There's a bunch of different sections on here. The top is about what does this thing do in a quick overview and how important is it. And the bottom half is more about what's going on from like behaviors perspective. So let's have a look at an example. Got an example here of a booking subdomain. And there's this service that could be built, and its purpose is to handle all the bookings, all the bookings. And what we can see here by looking closer is that when we talk about all the bookings, it's a generic system that can handle any kind of booking for any kind of product. And what we can see is we've got a lot of CRUD here. The thing that jumps out looking at this is there's lots of CRUD. So create an order, update an order, delete an order. Not really getting much of a domain-ish feel here. Sometimes you might be building simple CRUD services. Not all parts of a system need to have rich domain models. So at this point, we can dig into that and say, does it make sense to go CRUD here? By the way, those black icons, their servers are not floppy disks. If anyone else is sitting there thinking, why the hell are there some floppy disks over there? They're servers that look like floppy disks. And yeah, what we can also see from this example at the bottom is, so on the left-hand side, it's messages coming in from the other side. You know, we've built a bookings rules engine here. You know, do we need to do that? You know, have we gone a bit too far with this? Or maybe we can say, well, let's slice that in half. Let's build the top half first, come back and build the rules engine later. So by having all this in one place, we can have these kind of conversations. Another example here, something else that jumps out on this one, we're building a fleet management service. I see this kind of example quite a lot, where people take some industry terminology, a concept from that industry, and think, oh, because that's industry terminology, we must have a part of that architecture that's in line with that industry definition. So what you can see here is a lot of responsibilities. I need to get a bit closer on this one. I'll do some reading for you. So we've got a mobile app, which is getting the scooter's location, checking in and out the scooter. We've got the servicing team who want to move the scooter. We've got the demand forecasting who want to do some demands. There's a lot of stuff going on here. And you might look at this and think, well, that's obviously doing a lot of things. Nobody would ever do this. But the thing is, when you're just doing the lines and arrows, you don't always have this full picture in your mind. You go through these different scenarios, and in each individual scenario, it might look like a good idea. But when you put this all together, you start to realize, okay, overall, it's not a good idea. So yeah, a couple of things you can get out of the canvas very easily is around naming. You can spot things like generic names, and you can discuss how to make your names more precise. And you can start to look at the dependencies. And actually, as Maxime talked about earlier, Vladik has a pain formula. So you can go through a canvas, and you can analyze what's the pain of each of those dependencies. Which ones can we afford to keep, and which ones do we need to remove because they're too expensive and painful? So let's put this whole thing together, Max.
Yeah, so I wanted to show you this domain-driven design starter modeling process, which is also a resource on the DDD crew GitHub repository. And it describes actually the holistic view of what DDD covers, maybe from the business model to the code. And here you might think, whoa, it's like if I go through all this, I will have like 6 months without releasing anything, and I will have analyzing and modeling and stuff like that. Well, no, that's not the point here. Each step is optional, actually. So you will do it if you need it. So if you don't want to go into some strategy work or organizing theme or whatever, you can skip those. And the idea here is for each step, there's a lot of different tools, collaborating tools that you can use that are very, very easy to do and pretty fast, actually. Even storming sessions can last, I don't know, 2 hours, or then you can do it like 2 or 3 times, and that's okay. You have already enough information. And sometimes you will say, okay, I have enough information, I can start coding or trying to try some models in the code. And then if it's not enough, then you can go back and make some more discovery or get more into details on certain parts. So yeah, the important thing here is that it's an iterative process, and those are refinement cycles, and you will gain more knowledge through those different steps. You will have different perspectives, and that will help you to define better boundaries. And just to let you know what we've been through during this talk, event storming is, of course, the discovery phase where you map out the domain. The decompose is finding the domain boundaries from the event storming result, for example. And then the connect part is where you're doing those domain message flow modeling diagrams. And the define is roles and responsibilities with the bounded context on bus. Those were the 4 steps we covered during this talk.
So just a final few thoughts. Very quick word. I know we've got like 30 seconds left. 3 minutes. Oh, wow. I'm well ahead of schedule. What do I say?
No, we also have questions.
Oh, questions. Okay, so basically, all these techniques we talked about today, they all rely on some kind of visual collaboration, bringing together people of different skills and roles in a company. And that might be the hardest bit. The techniques themselves, not super difficult. Getting that mindset in your company can be the most difficult part. And so a book like Visual Collaboration Tools can be a good stepping stone in that direction. Some more references here you can find in the slide deck. And that is everything, right?
Yes.
We have 10 seconds for any questions.
Yeah, so I think we'll have time for 2 of the questions that arrived. So the first one is like this. The examples of Canvas seem to have very few elements in them. How detailed are they usually in real-world cases?
So what do these canvases look like in real life? Yeah, so it's a good question. This is the standard size. If you check out some of my blog posts, you'll see that this canvas has been built in a way where you can extend it infinitely, and you can have like flows going from left to right. So yeah, in real life, they look a bit messier and bigger than this.
It goes like this.
Thank you. Has the real-life team managed to double the revenue goal? And how many years has the transition taken from legacy monolith?
Step by step. Yeah, but Nick said that he will deliver a first step. So it's really about, yeah, it's mixing up all those things. So maybe also the, oh, I switched that off, I think. Yeah. Here you see you have also the strategize thing, which is kind of important when you will be doing this kind of work. As soon as you're discovering stuff, you decompose your domain, you will have you might have to do this strategize, and it will help you to find out what is the best thing to start with, depending on if it's a core part of your domain or just supporting or generic. So this will definitely help you to decide what would be the first step to do, and iterate, and yeah, that will be my advice. And yeah, do not plan like I will do it in 2 years or 3 years. It doesn't make sense, because as soon as you will collect some feedback about the thing you're releasing, maybe things will change and you will have to adapt again. So yeah.
I think we had the answers as well in the talks earlier. Eduardo at bold.com.
Yeah.
25 years to take out 1 microservice out of the monolith. I think Anja earlier also spoke about maybe not all of the monolith will be gone as well. So yeah, the answers are in those 2 talks, I think.
Let's thank Nick and Maxime again.